channel and sit here and talk about what's really about to happen. Uh, what was it? The shift change stuff, and I gotta make like multiple videos since my mom is gone. Shift change stuff included, but I want to sit here and actually talk about how I've been hinting at a lot of stuff, like superpowered stuff, um, shift change stuff, and a lot of other stuff. Before I get into all this, I want to sit here and come out and say that tomorrow's almost September. You know, the time has flown by, and I've got to do a TikTok on like a lot of stuff I've been finding, like how these researchers have randomly found time crystals. Um, what they found time crystals, and a lot of stuff has been going on with quantum physics. You know, quantum physics basically involves like time travel and all this other stuff. And quantum physics is also mentioned in Paper Girls, which is also another sort of a shift change TV series. It's trash. It just involves time travel, but they mention the term quantum physics, and it's going to basically get into something that I've been wanting to sit here and talk about, such as meeting yourself, in which I've talked about how I posted a video of the guy that talked about the two mailmen, how he saw his mailman leaving, and then he saw another one, and how I talked about how in my video about how basically I saw myself while I was in Uber and whatnot, looking at me, and the person that was driving the Uber was a Hispanic lady, and so want to sit here, come on, talk about this. But what else was there? Yeah, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna talk about this. It's this is the truth, nothing but the truth. I'm gonna try and make it short as possible. If this goes on for an hour or whatever the case it is, you know, whatever it happens. But yeah, what I've been avoiding, and I actually can't sit here and say this now because I talked about how I almost got killed by my brother, which that was demonic. But what I can sit here and tell you is the fact that now it is a very, with all these movies that have come out, Spider-Man: No Way Home, it's Paper Girls, it's Doctor Strange, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Lock and Key season 3, and The Umbrella Academy. And then there's other movies that and TV shows that haven't come out this year that are related to that, such as The One, featuring Jet Li, and then there's the movie Parallel. In all these movies, you can find one common theme. Whether it's time travel is different, but you can find a common theme, and that theme is basically um, you meeting yourself. There's a very, and I've been getting a lot of stuff. Probably I'll make another video after this. I've been getting a lot of dreams and visions, and God's been taking me to like a lot of dimensions and stuff where I'm meeting myself. Basically, I'm a different person in a different time period, and basically, I look different. Well, yeah, I look different. There are versions of me that are older, tall, skinny. There are versions of me that are old, tall, skinny. That was the first version of myself that I met. Then there's a version of me that sort of looks like me, but basically is like chunkier, whatever the case it is. He was a principal. I think he died. Uh, but there's that. There's versions of me where like I'm gay, I'm evil. Of course, there's like maybe like I think like five versions of me that are evil, but I have a main one. Um, then there's versions of me basically that like comic books that are artists. Versions of me that another version of me basically is a rock star, likes heavy metal, guitarist type stuff. Then there are versions of me that are like in middle school, have my father instead of my mother. Um, I have a twin apparently, but that's like a different story. I saw that once. That was weird. A lot of stuff. Lot of stuff. Basically, this is what God's been showing me, and I can sit here and tell you the truth and nothing but the truth because now there's a very high possibility when all the stuff. Because it's weird, because I actually just got notified of this today about basically how our dimensions are merging with other dimensions. Like today, when I actually went to sleep, I gotta call this person and tell them. Or I'll just tell them to watch this. But when when I woke up today, I had two dreams, and I've been having this nonstop back and forth. I've been having shift change dreams, I've been having superhero dreams, and I've been having dimension dreams, and I've been having zombie apocalypse dreams. All of which, three or four of those, they all interconnect with each other. But mainly, my point is that when I woke up today, I had a dream that basically I was a musician. That was a version of me. Either that was like a dream or something, or that was like a version of me that's actually like a musician because I saw my stage name. And point is, I'm running in that dream, all types of stuff. And basically, it gets to the point where, and this has actually never happened to me before, and I actually can't sit here and say this, where basically there's a version of me that was in trouble. And in Doctor Strange, they tell you in Doctor Strange, in the beginning of the movie, he's running with this chick named America Chavez. And basically, after that version of himself dies in his dream world, basically he wakes up to the Doctor Strange that we know, or whatever the case it is. Something you got to watch. Basically, and then they dropped that, even though that movie was just garbage and trash. Basically, they say the phrase that dreams are portals to our multiversal selves. So if you see yourself, an older version of yourself, a younger version of yourself, a version of you that looks like you, or a version of you that dies, or whatever the case it is, it's probably because it's a version of yourself that is dying in the infinite numbers of the multiverse. And people try and sit here and say that the multiverse isn't real. The multiverse, in fact, it is real, because if it wasn't real, then why is it that I have a video? I don't know which video it is because I almost have like 200 videos. There's a video I talked about what happens if you meet yourself in a video in a different dimension. And basically, it happened in real life. It happened. Basically, an explosion happens. You meet yourself. The timeline resets itself and everything. And basically, it can. This is covered in the Umbrella Academy season 3, where they go to another dimension where they still have the same father, but their brother who was dead in season 1, he's alive. Yeah, he's alive. And season 3, but the version of him that exists is a complete and utter asshole. Excuse my language, but I had to say it like that because the version of him that exists in season 1 was this nice, loving, caring person. He was selfless and everything. And in season 3, he's the leader of the team. He's an a-hole, an asshole, basically. And his personality is different, all types of stuff, and pretty much. That's how it is. That they're telling you that's how it works in different dimensions and stuff. You're not the same person who you think you are in another dimension. So, and I could sit here and go about this for days, but I'm not going to. But we all know people that are nice people, or whatever the case it is. But then, when God does this whole shift change thing, those are either going to be the same exact people that we know, and their personalities are going to be the same, or it's just going to be someone else, that looks like our loved ones and whatnot. Either they'll have the same personality or they won't, but regardless, it won't make a difference because they'll still be the same person. People try and sit here and say that the multiverse and stuff isn't real, it's demonic, it's satanic, or whatever the case it is, when in actuality, if you actually look up these projects, this is extensive research, and I've been doing this stuff for years. These extensive projects, these governmental projects, and all this other stuff, it's called something called Project Montauk. And they even show you in all these movies and stuff about the multiverse is real, time travel, and all this other stuff. And where the term multiverse comes from, that comes from DC Comics, which they have something called Crisis on Infinite Earths. There's like different versions of it, but the original one, basically, which you could just find. It talks about them bringing together the multiverse of all the different characters and comic book characters, bringing them together. And there's also another, I'm talking about this, there's also in the show called, I forgot what it was called, but it's my favorite episode. I think it was called, what was it, Same As It Never Was? But it's basically, I think it's something that, they go to another timeline. I'm explaining all this stuff. Something happened. It's a 2-part episode, and they go to another timeline, and it's like where they have another version of the Justice League, but they're called the Justice Guild. The Justice Guild, GUILD, and they meet them, and basically it turns out that basically in their dimension, even though it's altered and all this other stuff. Long story short, the whole point of the episode was that basically they're a different version of the Justice League, but they're comic book characters. So you actually have to you got to think a certain way when you watch this stuff. Obviously, you're watching a cartoon, right? But imagine if the Justice League world was the real world, right? With powers, all this other stuff, right? And basically, they get thrown into another dimension when an explosion happens, or due to the Flash, or whatever the case it is. And once that happens, they get sucked into a world where basically it's a comic book world where the characters originally they died. It's something you would have to watch, and you can actually find those two episodes on YouTube. But basically, it's explained that in the real world with the Justice League, the Justice Guild were basically a bunch of comic book characters that were originally came out when John Stewart was alive when he was a kid, right? And so basically, but when they got canceled in their world, what happened, what was going on in the Justice Guild's world, they sacrificed themselves to an atom bomb or whatever the case it is, and there's very few survivors. So that's them telling you in plain sight that these comic book worlds and stuff are real. And that also want to sit here and come out and say this, even though I've told somebody about this. Some of these characters that exist, or whatever the case it was, are actually real. And, like in different universes and all this other stuff, the multiverse is infinite. And and there's also a term called Atopa. Atopa is spelled Tulpa. And if you actually, after you get done watching this video, you do research, you look at it on Google, it tells you that Atopa basically is something that if enough people believe in it, it becomes real. So, you believe in Superman, Batman, or whatever the case is, what you believe in. If enough people believe in it, it's real. There's also a phenomenon with Slender Man. Slender Man is a fictional character, but it's actually a real case. But I think these 2 or 3 chicks, these little girls, they basically did some satanic sacrifice, and basically, since they believed in it enough, it appeared to them. Now we can sit here and say that obviously it's a demon or whatever the case it is, and demons take on characters. Characters can take on people, all that other stuff. But nonetheless, even if it wasn't a demon, you still have to get into the fact that Slender Man is a real entity, a real character that these people believed in. And if they tell you this stuff in movies and TV shows and all this other stuff where they constantly are doing satanic sacrifices and whatnot. But they sit there and they tell you that if you do this stuff enough, you can bring something over from the other side, which they're right about. And we don't advise doing that. But I want to sit here and say that, and it comes to term of like meeting yourself into where all this is headed, and when I talk about Spider-Man No Way Home, you got Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland. Even though I thought that movie was mediocre as I don't know what, it is a very strong possibility. And I'm not claiming this because this stuff hasn't happened yet, but I have seen this stuff where I have teamed up with myself. There's versions of there's me. There was a version of me that's like this giant buff barbarian that has has a giant axe and everything. And then there's a version of me that has like a guitar. And I've talked about how constantly playing the guitar, all this other stuff. And there's, versions of me that like comic books, all this other stuff. And then there's another version of me that has like superpowers and whatnot. There's a very high possibility, since our worlds are merging, our dimensions are merging, our worlds are merging together, and this is not the same. We're not in Kansas anymore. We're not on the same planet. That's a very high possibility that when all this stuff happens, that basically there's a very high possibility we could be working with ourselves and we could be fighting a greater evil, which is they show you this stuff in the stuff I've mentioned before. They show you in Paper Girls, which I actually like that comic book series, but I didn't know that was coming out. And they have it where they time travel and they meet like three versions of themselves, and the 4th character, she's dead because she has like cancer and stuff. But they're time traveling. They meet themselves, and there's no ripple effect. They have to go back to their timeline and whatnot. Doctor Strange, it's the same thing. Everything, everywhere, all at once. That's you gotta watch that or buy that movie. That's something that's different. You got that happening even in the Umbrella Academy, and then you got that happening in the one with Jet Li. And basically, I want to sit here and come out and say that with all this information that I am giving you, because this stuff is real, that pretty much they explain it in I got the movies and stuff written down. They explain it in the movie called The One, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and they explain it in the movie Parallel. So basically, this is you, this is you, and this is like five other yous in a different dimension or whatever the case it is. You know that through just through research and not some scientist or whatever the case is, you're some ordinary person that you know that the multiverse and all this other stuff is real. And you have this thought, and God starts showing you this stuff, and it starts telling you that this stuff is real. It's real, okay? And this is God talking to you, not the devil, not demons, not whatever the case it is. God is telling you that this is real. I did all this, and no matter what somebody tells you or whatever the case it is, you stand firm in your faith, and you have to believe that this stuff is real, right? So these are the five other yous, and this is you. Basically, once you come to the fact that the multiverse, it's real, basically it sets off a chain reaction, and they explain this in Everything Everywhere All at Once and a lot of other movies. It sets off a chain reaction to the five other different versions of yourself. And I'm using that because, the multiverse and stuff is infinite. And it's a chain reaction. So once you believe that this is real, you start basically, when you go to sleep, because they explain, in Doctor Strange, dreams are like are portals to our multiversal selves and whatnot. Basically, you start to get a glimpse of your life in other dimensions and timelines. So basically, those five versions of yourself, let's say you're a middle school, you're the same age as you are, you're a different sexuality, you're evil, and then there's like an older version of yourself, right? In all cases, in which my case, I found out that I actually have another version of myself, but he's gay, and didn't know that. But the point is that it's a chain reaction, and I think that's where it can this is where it can actually get real demonic, and they know this stuff. This stuff has been happening for years, since like the 40s or 50s. That basically, if you do meet yourself, and this goes back into the movie The One with Jet Li, and there's a point in the movie where basically his doppelganger, his evil version of himself, is something you gotta watch, is basically governing the multiverse and whatnot, but he goes around and decides to kill like almost 20, 30 different versions of himself and whatnot. And the reasons why it's called The One, because there's only one version of himself left. But basically, if a version of you ever was to basically become aware of this stuff, corruption and evil can start to leap in, and that gets into basically the term of a doppelganger. You're a good person, then you have another version of yourself that's evil. Every decision that you haven't made in this life, you've made it in another life. And I'm not talking in terms of a new age spectrum. I'm talking in terms of a dimensional spectrum, because they show you this stuff. And not only Jet Li's The One, they tell you about this stuff about the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. And so, if things were unhinged or whatever the case it was, that version of yourself, that's evil. And this is a thing. Basically, the more you kill yourself, the more you would kill another version of yourself. You're basically becoming a souped up version of yourself. And they talk about this in Jet Li's the movie The One with Jet Li, where he goes around killing versions of himself, and he can run super fast, has super strength, reflexes, all this other stuff. That's a real thing. And he another thing he does in that movie, if I remember this correctly, and God has also shown me this, is that when you do that, you absorb your essence, your soul, your spirit, whatever the case it is, you absorb your essence. And so there's that. That's also why God has rules, regulations, and stuff set up in different dimensions, so we don't violate those dimensions. In which case, that's why stuff like the Men in Black are different. But It's a thing where basically, like going back to the movie The Matrix, where basically, if Neo isn't careful, he can set off a chain reaction. Agent Smith, and basically what was it? He he has a unique. You have a unique genetic code or DNA in this dimension. So basically, imagine if you step into another dimension and you don't belong there, even though there's another version of yourself. The algorithm or whatever the case it is, it knows that you're not supposed to be there, which is why in the movie The Spider-Verse, why with Miles Morales and the other different versions of Spider-Man, basically a chain reaction is set off basically when they come in there and they slowly start dying off because they're not supposed to be there. It's not their timeline. This is a thing that is real. This is a thing that is real, but these people, not these people, but these demons and stuff, they're not people. They wear skin suits, which is a common theme in the Men in Black movie. They violate this. They violate the rules and the laws and the regulations of the multiverse. And a lot of people don't talk about this, but this goes back into basically before even, I hope I'm not butchering this, before Lucifer fell from heaven, he was alive when basically him and his army or whatever the case it is were alive when God created the world in a certain amount of days, the multiverse, because he did everything within a short time period, so much to the point where it tells you in the Bible he had to rest. So he was exhausted. So that's why these demons and stuff and even people, when you lower it down to it, that's why they know about the multiverse, because it's a real thing that God actually did. He actually took time into basically making all of this stuff. And, people talk about, heaven on earth and all these other things, when the Bible wraps up towards the end of the book, but people don't sit here and they tell you about the fact that, yeah, even though that's the case, why would God stop building after, heaven on earth is finally fulfilled? Because, God is showing me his character, all this other stuff. He has a sense of humor and everything. God gets bored. He's God. He can create anything. God gets bored. Why would he sit here and why would he stop creating when creation is infinite? Literally, and infinite, you don't even want to imagine what infinite's like, because your head would explode. But that, and so that's a very high possibility that, we could be meeting ourselves. And not only that, but we could also be collaborating with ourselves. And I don't claim this because this stuff hasn't happened yet, even though God has shown me this stuff, that, with the evil that's coming on into this dimension and exist in other dimensions, which is why the 144,000 are the only people that can go back and forth to dimensions is a thing, is because, basically that's, lost my train of thought, mother of God. But that's why. And so there's that. I want to sit here, come out, release this information because this is the truth, nothing but the truth. Also want to sit here and talk about a dream I had where basically, so sometimes when I go to sleep or whatever, I don't have any of this stuff on my mind, like superpowers, zombies, all this other stuff on my mind. I just tell God, I tell him, I pray, and I talk to him. I say, like, whatever you want me to know, whatever you want me to experience, let me experience in your name. I go to sleep and whatnot. And so basically, this is like actually a long time ago, either it was this month, last month, whatever, don't care. Basically, I'm dreaming and I'm right-handed. I knew I was looking at another version of myself because I'm right-handed. And basically, I started dreaming and there's a wall. And I know what my hand looks like and everything. There's a wall and there's like ink. I'm right-handed. And there's another version of me that's left-handed. And since, I believe in this stuff, it's a chain reaction, starts drawing on the wall, all the possibilities and the equations, is just like all the possibilities that went on in his life, what's going on, all this other stuff. And basically, I think I saw maybe 5 different versions of myself, both left-handed and right-handed, writing on the wall, and they were just connecting everything. And they also, how in the Marvel universe, in the Marvel universe, they have it, if you go on a wiki page, they have numbers to their universe. I think DC is different. I don't know. Yeah, well, no, DC is the same. They number their Earths, like Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 616, all that other stuff. This is a real thing. God actually numbers these worlds and stuff that he creates. even though it's infinite and all this other stuff. God numbers these worlds and dimensions and stuff that He creates, and it's a real thing. And so that, and pretty much, I'm trying to sit here and think of something else. Yeah, I wanted to come on, sit here, and talk about that and explain all that. I had to just drop all this information because it's the truth, nothing but the truth. This is what's about to happen. In terms of this, since tomorrow is basically September, basically, I've been getting this stuff nonstop. Also, God's been telling me stuff about superpowers, all this other stuff. In terms of superpowers, this stuff is not going to be like how people think it's going to be, like in the movies and stuff. This is going to be something that is beyond people's imaginations. And actually now, technically, as of now, since I guess we're closer to the shift change and zombie apocalypse and whatnot, basically, this stuff is real. It's happening, and people's powers. I've been seeing videos, and people have been sending me videos of basically people that can levitate stuff. People can jump high. People can do smoke manipulation, manipulate the clouds. And while some of these are just normal people, and while some of them are like people that get their powers from the devil, the point is that this stuff is actually happening and manifesting in real life. I'm also being, I'm not going to talk about that online. I'm not going to talk about what God's been showing me, but God's been showing me all this stuff for a reason. And I also want to sit here and do talk about the fact that, explain all this and whatnot, that basically there are dimensions and stuff where there's no form of currency at all whatsoever. And they're like, God is showing me this stuff. God actually bought me shoes. This is like, this happened to me like the third time, actually recently. Was with God, and I was at a shoe place or whatever. It was sort of like our world, but it wasn't. And basically, God bought me like 2-3 pair of shoes, and He basically showed me that the companies that exist here, like by different name brands, have different styles and shoes and all this other stuff. And He literally, and while I was sleeping, He bought me a pair of shoes, and didn't have to pay for it. None of it. He didn't have, and this is excluding the fact that He's God. I can't even say excluding the fact, because that's throwing Him under the bus. But didn't need chip in your hand, didn't need currency, didn't need cash, gold coins, or to trade anything. You could just walk in there in that dimension and nothing but clothes, and then you can leave and dip out, and you have a whole sense of a new form of fashion. That happened to me the first time. And basically, when I went to sleep, a portal opened, and I put my hand in the portal, got sucked into it, and I was wearing clothes. And basically, I was naked. And basically, it was like our world, and there was another version of me that was there. But it was like our world. It was the same from what I was seeing. And basically, went into that world, and I just grabbed clothes, and I could wear them, and didn't have to buy them from what, to my knowledge, because it ended as soon as I woke up and put clothes on. And nothing happened. And it's that, and then there's another version where basically I was like at another dimension, and basically God has just been showing me all this stuff where basically I was like at a fashion, how they display like people that wear clothes that do like wear fashion and stuff in our world. That was a real thing. Didn't have to pay for nothing, not a dime, didn't need experience. They just knew who I was just wearing stuff, and I'm wearing clothes that aren't mine, that don't even look like clothes in this world. And they're actually way better, to be real. But that, and so stuff like that, and this, there's that. And then I also want to sit here and say that while I am talking about this is why these demons and stuff want to basically implement the mark of the beast, even though this stuff is like in different dimensions and stuff. This is why they want to do this stuff, because not in every world, you don't need money or currency, or you don't need to trade anything. Stuff is just there. You could just literally take it, don't have to pay for anything, and that's it. I don't know how like the economics and stuff works, because God's never shown me that stuff, but this is why they want to do this stuff. This is why they want to chip people. This is why they want to sit here and implement the mark of the beast wherever they go, because they know not every single dimension. They don't know every single dimension, and that's why they almost tried stealing my memory, because they don't want people knowing this stuff. Even 144,000 people, and they get pissed about this stuff. And this is why. Also want to sit here and talk about what else was it? And colonization is a real thing in our world. But there's also a thing such as, and they show you this stuff in the movie called Stargate before the TV show was around. The movie Stargate. Um, the first time before the TV show was ever released, the movie Stargate came out. And long story short, even though it was sort of boring, they talked about how they basically went to another world. And even though it had like a demon or whatever the case it is, you could equate it to the devil. You take that out. You had a dimension where basically people couldn't read. They didn't know. They couldn't read. They didn't know how to write. They were basically like cave people, cavemen, basically. And in this world, I don't think a term of like currency and all this other stuff existed. But my point is that this is why they want to sit here and do this stuff. They want to do this stuff because basically they're interdimensional colonists. Colonization is a thing, and the only beings that can travel back and forth to dimensions are fallen angels, and I think like demons to an extent, because there's like I think fallen angels and demons are they're a different thing basically. But then then there's God and angels and stuff, and then pretty soon the 144,000 will get their powers and stuff, and they'll be able to travel back and forth to different dimensions, etc. Whatever the case it is, right? And then then you have like people like CERN, all this other stuff, where they go back and forth to different dimensions, and they have different technology, all this other stuff. This is why they do this stuff, because they're interdimensional colonists, and they can just come into any world they want to, colonize there, brainwash the people, and God will let it happen, because at the end of the day, God is supreme and supreme and all this other stuff. God lets it happen, because I've also talked about on my channel how God basically just blows them up. They can escape to space all they want to. Different stuff happens in different dimensions, but God blows up that world. And obviously, whether he spares the people or not, I can't speak for that. But I do know that this is actual thing. So there's that. And what else was there? There's that. And I'm trying to sit here and think, because this video is already headed towards like 40 minutes and whatnot. Don't really care. Don't care about some people's attention spans. Is the truth, nothing but the truth. And yeah, and then there are also places where people. I've talked about this the first time I experienced this. Basically, Jesus was born. The apostles, probably different apostles and stuff. They existed and whatnot. But basically, nobody knows that the Bible exists and this stuff is real. In which, if you watch the movie Stargate, they don't even have a concept of basically God or anything, and they explain that towards the end of the movie and whatnot. But so they tell you this stuff. They tell you that in different dimensions and whatnot, once we go there, we can sit here and destroy the Bible or whatever the case is. They can't go back and kill the Son of God, because God would never let that happen. Even though God came and everything, Jesus was born and resurrected, all this other stuff, there are a lot of people that don't know in different dimensions. And this is why the multiverse is like sort of like in peril. The ones that they have or they've gotten their hands on, or whatever the case is, dimensions merging. Why this is a thing, because this stuff is serious. This stuff is not a joke. And the more they come out and they release these movies, these TV shows, whatever the case it is, they're just flaunting it now, and they're basically just boasting about it in people's faces, but they can't seem to wrap their mind around it and whatnot. So there's that. I tried to explain. This is like a one giant. This is going to affect me somehow. I don't really care. Don't really care. I'm putting this out here. But now you know the truth. I got to sit here and talk about a lot of other stuff like powers and whatnot. But a lot of the powers and stuff that you see, I watch a lot like a lot of anime and all this other stuff. That basically, I'll be having those gifts, and it'll be something even greater than what I see on TV. I remember actually this happened to me this week, and actually God took me to a dimension where basically Marvel exists or whatever the case it was. And I was like drawing or whatever the case it is, but there's like different versions of Spider-Man in terms of his outfit that have never been drawn before, that people don't know existed, and God is showing me that basically people can't even fathom what he looks like in a different costume. And so, and God is also showing me that cartoon dimensions and stuff are real, even in the Spider-Verse. You could equate Miles Morales and Peter Parker. Well, Peter Parker in his timeline died, but if you watch the Spider Verse, there's like four different versions of basically of Spider-Man. There's another version of him, Peter Parker. There's Spider-Man Noir, who's like the Spider-Man in black, voiced by Nicolas Cage. The noir genre is something that's popular here, like a black and white dimension. That there's an anime character. I think her name is Penny. She has like a robot and whatnot. She's an anime character. That's real. Somebody I've been talking to somebody about this stuff like 24/7, almost every single day now. This person sat there and told me that the anime dimension, cartoon dimension is real. Then you have the cartoon version. I love this version. Spider Ham, Peter Porker, who also, once again, is real. So they're telling you that this stuff is real. And once again, the other thing that they had in the movie with Miles Morales was the particle collider. And so this stuff is real. I could sit here and talk about this stuff day in and day out. But the more they release this stuff, the more it makes it continuously obvious that this stuff is real, and this stuff isn't a joke anymore. And so whatever's coming over here is coming over here, and I keep seeing videos, TikToks of basically these flying octopus creatures that are like these black blobs or whatever the case it is, that are real. They're coming over here, and then Stranger Things season 4 came out. Stranger Things season 4 came out, and the red portals and stuff, what Stranger Things is known for. Then all of a sudden now, that stuff is popping up in here in our dimension. Actually, recently, as of recent news, over in China for about the 5th time, because the water has turned red in China. It's went black about twice in the sky randomly. One when communists were gathering together, the sky turned pitch black and it was thundering. And then there's also the fact of basically, it randomly just went black one day. Then it was those two occasions, and then there's also, you can actually research this. You can type in 5 suns China, and that happened in China. And now it's this I gotta do a TikTok on this. A rainbow appears in China, but it's not a rainbow across the sky. It's like a spear. Like the rainbow is in the clouds, but it's in a circle. It's literally in the clouds in a circle, like this, and it's a rainbow. When have you ever seen a rainbow in our world? That's like this. That's like literally like a cup. Like this in the sky. Has never happened. Actually, just a couple days ago, last week, actually, I think Saturday or Sunday, it was thundering at my job, but there's no rain. Literally, the lights just kept flickering on and on. I'm sitting over here saying lights, even though this stuff is happening in New York. But the sky kept flickering on and off, and there's thunder in the sky, and you can obviously see the thunder or the lightning in the sky, but it's not raining. Now, I got home at on Saturday, I get home around 12:30 or something. But now, unless lo and behold, it started raining after I went to sleep at 12:30 or 1 o'clock, then maybe I'm wrong. But in every situation, every scenario, when it's thundering and lightning, there's always rain. It's not just, the sky is just dry and it's just lightning and thunder. That's abnormal. So there's that. And then there's also, in terms of the month of August, I heard something about basically AI. This is the stuff that's quiet. I got quiet is dangerous. Quiet. I'm getting all these dreams and stuff now. But if you ever watch, war movies or whatever the case it is, or if you ever seen whatever secular world movie you've watched, every time when it's something involving a war movie, when they're in the woods or whatever the case it is, they're stepping on branches, they got their guns and everything, like the movie Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. They're in the woods and everything. They got the guns, and then it's quiet. Quiet is dangerous. When it's too quiet, as they say in the movies, that becomes dangerous, and then that's when all hell on earth breaks loose, and that's when it becomes a threat. And actually, since it's on August now, the 31st, starting up the week, I follow a Christian alternative platform. They're called End Time Headlines, and they're talking about how now, just starting the week, about two, three, four hurricanes or whatever the case it is are headed towards America, and how it's going to impact us. You know, here we go again. Um, Time is different. Obviously, time is different. This actually happened to me yesterday or on Monday. Um, I was getting ready to do something. I forgot what it was. But 10 minutes passed. I was supposed to wake up at like four something, at like 5:30 or whatever time. I woke up at around like 5:30, and 10 minutes passed. 4:30, 5:30, whatever, and I was in my bed laying there for like an additional 5 minutes to wait until it was like 4:30, 5:30 something, whatever the case it is. And I'm sitting over there, and from the time I get up in my bed, put my clothes on, and I talk to my mom for like a millisecond, 10 minutes had passed, right? But as I'm brushing my teeth, which only takes me like 2 minutes to brush my teeth, 4 minutes passed like it was nothing. 4 minutes passed slowly, but 10 minutes passed like it was nothing. And I'm not a type of person to just slowly get ready. I'm not that type of person. I get up, do my job, whatever the case it is, and then I do whatever. I'm always in a rush to do something. And lo and behold, 10 minutes just passed like it was nothing, and then now it's 4:40. Yeah, it was 4:40. That's abnormal. So a lot of stuff is abnormal that I can't really keep track of because a lot of this stuff is from what God has given me to the stuff I'm seeing. It's a little bit too much. And then with that, not just that, but it was something else. Also, recently, in terms of the whole hybrid scenario that these people want to sit here and do, they recently were able to. They I got to do TikToks on the stuff about the articles and stuff, but basically, they were able to make a hybrid without sperm, and they were able to just fertilize a hybrid creature. Um, so from that just happening, then this same website I'm on called SciTech, SCI Tech, TECH, Tech. They're sitting over here talking about how, and this will actually blow you away, how they're talking about flying trains. They're talking about using your DNA to make flying trains. How DNA, the terms of this is how you know this is demonic. You know, the terms of using DNA is endless, it's infinite. And so now they can use your DNA to the point where now they can develop flying trains. Excuse me, what? I think I just heard my voice, which is, I don't know, I thought that was weird. But that's abnormal. So that, what else is there? And then, in terms of that, stuff about the Euphrates, you might as well just say that the Euphrates is dried up at this point, really. If you actually look, I think I looked this stuff up. I think I posted the voices of like the fallen angels and stuff, or the giants that are stuck basically at the bottom of the Euphrates River, chained away. You can hear the chains and the moaning, groaning sounds. They're ready to come out. And as of recently, from following End Time Headlines, they've been talking about how rivers, lakes, or oceans across the world are starting to dry up, which basically goes back into when I said God's going to split the world in half, and it goes back into the movie Elysium, and how basically, if I remember this correctly, because it's been a minute since I watched this movie, but basically on Elysium, there's a new Earth in space, or whatever the case is. This is about as best as I can get to it. Whereas like on the old Earth, the current Earth, our Earth, there's nothing but dry land. I think there's no water, and there's nothing but a satin wasteland, like a Mad Max wasteland, and there's no water virtually, and you got all these health problems, chaos, anarchy, all this other stuff which is going on. But it's like a Mad Max wasteland, and this is what they want to do. And also, it's also been a thing now where basically now more than ever, these people, these demons, people, whatever you want to call it, these people are now promoting you eating insects and bugs. I remember I saw something that made me I posted that video on my channel about insects and all this other stuff, but they're treating this stuff as if it's normal. And I saw pictures of basically how some of this stuff is already on the shelf. I think like cockroaches or ants or something, and basically This is what they want you doing. They want you eating. This is disgusting. They want you eating. Oh my God. They want you eating cockroach smoothies. Now, even though eating insects and bugs and all this other stuff is like a different delicacy in different countries, they're basically telling you that you're going to worship us like it, own nothing, and you'll be happy, and you're going to be happy eating your own your own shit. Basically, hate cussing. You're going to be comfortable eating your own crap and eating the cockroaches and the insects that come from the earth, and you will be happy with what you're doing. And people don't see it at this point. I don't care, because pretty much what God's been showing me that now when this stuff hits the fan, which it'll be like the rapture. The zombie apocalypse will be like the rapture. I don't know if the rapture will happen then. Don't really care. But basically, it'll be suddenly. It will take everybody off guard, and people will start morphing everything, and there will be all hell on earth. And I think around that time, because I keep getting about around that time, superpowers and stuff will start be going off, because basically zombies and stuff will start eating people. And I've even had it since I've talked about how my mom has the mark of the beast, or whatever the case it is. That basically I'm staying in the house with a xenomorph. Every dream I keep having about my mom is either a zombie, or she's a xenomorph. And basically at that point, had a dream where basically I was in the hospital with my mom, but my mom is talking to like the doctor or whatever, but I just saw my mom's face and her skin. I start seeing the xenomorph. Basically, it was like the mother xenomorph was becoming active, and you could see it in her skin, and it just started morphing gradually. And as she kept talking, her face kept peeling off. So basically, sort of like the cheesy 70s, 80s movies, how like with the effects, their skin and stuff would peel off. And I started to see the xenomorph. And by the time my mom got done talking, or whatever the case it is, the xenomorph fully manifested, took its form, took over my mom. And even though it had my mom's voice, it was not physically my mom or spiritually my mom anymore. And at that point, when that happened, God snatched me up, and he basically threw me in another dimension. He just basically snatched me up, grabbed me in the hospital. And while all that was going on, I had a knowing that in the hospital, since my mom does work in the hospital, all these people started dying. There was chaos. People were screaming. There are probably bodies everywhere. They're going to be doing this same stuff in prison. But basically, I was thrown somewhere. I was happy. And basically, I'm playing the guitar. I'm happy in front of an audience. And there you go. There you go. And I had a knowing that this stuff was going on the old earth, in which I've talked about the world being split in half and all this other stuff. So this stuff is serious. And God has been showing me a lot of stuff. God has been taking me to different dimensions, all this other stuff. And this stuff is real. This stuff is not a joke no more. I remember I said something, I want to come out here and say, I remember I said a prophecy that I said, or something that God just told me in my dreams, that basically people now are going to start be discovering and coming across about the fact that they have AIDS and HIV. I'm not going to talk about, where they're going to getting it from, but there's a reason why there's an increase in this stuff. And I was on my Snapchat, my personal Snapchat, and I just see how a guy had what started this stuff that we're in for the past 2 years. I can't really say the word. But this guy had what these doctors, are called. It's the C word. I'm gonna leave it at that, the C word. And this guy had the C word, monkeypox, and HIV all in one. The only way that's even remotely possible is for you to sit here and be injected with that stuff. Now, getting the C word, you can get that in, you can get that from people, being around people, all this other stuff. But for you to get monkeypox and HIV at the same time, that's impossible. That's impossible. The odds of that happening is 10-1. Literally, I wouldn't even say 10-1. And that happened on my Snapchat. And an individual I talked to that sat here and said that, we're not seeing this stuff. It would be better if we saw this stuff in people, or whatever the case it is. And I sat here and I told him and I'm telling you that we are seeing this stuff, but this stuff is being shadow banned, censored. People can't speak the truth, just like when people originally were lining up and taking the mark of the beast. People that were getting all these symptoms and stuff. This is why they're pushing up on censorship now. Is because now it's going to get to. This is why you have to leave a journal behind, because pretty much you can't leave. I'm gonna get to that in a minute. This is why you have to leave a journal behind, and why you have to have screenshots and print out papers of these articles and stuff. Because when things actually do sit here and hit the fan, you won't be able to use your phone, you won't be able to use your laptop, and you probably won't be able to use a lot of stuff. Because what they came out and they said 2 years ago, they came out, it was Google. They came out with the phone and they said that here's a brand new phone that can basically, you won't be able to log into this phone unless you have the mark of the beast. I'm not going to sit here and unless you have this medical passport, which there you go. And if you don't know, and I'm going to tell you this now, that it is possible for these phone companies to sit here and shut off all these phones in unison all at once, and for you to sit here and for them to sit here and sell you a new phone where you have to have a passport to get this stuff. And that's the thing. So I do want to sit here and say that there's a lot of stuff I got to sit here and cover. And also in terms of basically going back to the guy that got monkeypox and HIV, I was just having dreams about my mom going to the doctor, and, she would have AIDS or whatever. But this is a thing now where basically, even though it's not being reported, or you got to look into the statistics or whatever the case it is, there are people, God can show you something in terms of a prophecy and you not see it at a global scale. And basically, it's getting to the point where now, basically, there are people coming out and finding out they do have AIDS and HIV, and this is real. So, that story basically just verified it. But in terms of, it would be better to basically know if people have this or the mark of the beast, through the boils and blisters and whatnot. If you want to have sex with somebody, get married, or whatever the case is, I'm sitting here to tell you that now, that at this point, you better off practicing abstinence. That at this point, you got, if you're interested in somebody, now you have to be worried about the fact, not only if they have like an STD or whatever the case is, now you have to be worried about the fact about basically did they line up and take the mark of the beast, or have they had sex with somebody that basically has had the mark of the beast. And basically you got to ask those questions now. You got to ask them whether it's in church, whether you're out in the world or in church, because this is actually a real thing. Because if they haven't taken it, with at the rate, this demonic rate where people are just sitting over here having sex with whoever or whatever the case it is, now you got to ask them, have you been with somebody that has the mark of that has had the mark of the beast? And if you hear those two things, at that point, you got to be practicing abstinence, and you got to just be sticking to God, because this stuff is serious. And when I came out and I said a long time ago about basically, if you sit here and you sleep with somebody that has the mark of the beast, you're also going to catch it. That's a thing, and you're going to be going to hell. Now, it'll be different if you have sex with somebody and they have the mark of the beast and you didn't know, and this is if you're a believer, because then you get spared, which a lot of people sit there and say, like, how is that possible? Well, basically, if you would never line up and take it, obviously God knows you would never line up and take it, and the devil knows this, but if let's say like you're married and you've been married to your spouse for like 20 something years or whatever the case it is, they line up and took it, but they don't tell you. Well, God knows you would never take it, and you're never going to take it. That gets to the whole predestiny thing. You would never take it, and that gets to the whole seal of God thing. But basically, okay, God knows this, but your spouse never comes out and tells you that they've taken the mark of the beast. God spares you. God obviously kills off your spouse, and God spares you because, you didn't know. But if you do know and you continue to have sex with your spouse, believer or not, you go to hell. So a lot of people have been saying that, and then a lot of people have been twisting my words and stuff. But that and in terms of this stuff now, these people that exist now, they still are people and whatnot. This stuff is just lying dormant in them. But also somebody else sent me a video, basically a deliverance video, about a guy, he lined up and took the mark of the beast, and they're doing an online deliverance thing and whatnot. And the video is like almost 10, 15 minutes long. But long story short, they didn't deliver the dude because the demon that was in his body was claimed him because he took the mark of the beast. And they said what your name is, and his name, I can't say the full word, but it starts with Lucifer. And something that Bill Gates came out with. And there you go. And the amount of people that now are sleeping with these people, or with these people that are around these people, they're headed straight to hell, believer or not. So And that's pretty much all I wanted to sit here, come on and say. Hope you got something from this. Uh, and yeah, at this point now, pretty much don't be distracted by what's going on in the world. At this point now, I could care less what's going on in the world. Really, I'm just focused on what God is doing, and I also still stand by on what I stand on. Basically, when God showed me about opened a vision about the shift change and whatnot, how I was awake one day writing at my desk in my room, and basically God showed me that basically you'll go to sleep one day, and basically your world will be new. I can't really sit here and speak for the world and all this other stuff. I can only speak for myself, because when things do hit the fan, God is going to give me superpowers. I'm not going to be touched by this zombie apocalypse stuff, and the shift change will happen. I'll be somewhere else new where I'm supposed to be, and yeah. And also, that was another thing I want to sit here and say, that basically when God does a shift change, I don't know how this is going to work. I'm not going to claim I know how this is going to work. I only know what God can show me. But basically, when God basically puts you in another dimension, let's say I'm going to be rich, right? I'm going to be rich. All these other things. I'm going to be able to play the instrument, whatever instrument I want, and basically going to be able to draw all types of stuff. God basically, let's say, like, I just want, and let's say I want to be a comic book artist, or I just want to draw and do my novels and stuff, right? Basically, since I can't do that in real time, I have to pick. Basically, I have to tell God, and I have to tell God what I want. And let's say I want to be a comic book artist, whatever the case it is, which I do, and whatnot. When that whole shift change thing happens, God is basically going to merge me with that version of myself that is a comic book artist, and that version of myself has always been that way. I think it's weird how this works, but I absorb that person, or me and that person exist in the same reality, or whatever the case it is, or I absorb that person's essence. Our dimensions merge, and basically, I've always been that person, and that basically is the world that God basically is putting me in. I'm trying to explain this the best way I can, but I really can't, because it's something that you basically have to go to God on. But basically, this is stuff that is going to be a reality, and this stuff is happening. So that's about it. This thing is about an hour. I hope you got something from this. I covered all this, everything that I've been wanting to sit here and tell you. This stuff is not fiction no more. This stuff is not fantasy. This stuff is real. This stuff is happening, and this stuff is going to happen. And even though I don't claim when some of this stuff is going to happen, or whatever the case it is, I can't sit here and tell you that this stuff is going to happen. So whether, since I was talking about how I almost got killed and whatnot by my brother, whether I die, and I can't sit here and say this, whether I die or not, or live to see all this, I can sit here and say this, that these words are true. This stuff is real, and this stuff, everything that God has told me, has come to fruition. Nobody can sit here and call me a false prophet, or whatever the case it is. Videos, I have almost 200 videos of me just talking nonsense out the window. Every single vision, dream, and everything that God has told me has come to pass, is happening right now, and is coming to fruition, and it's going to happen. The stuff that I've said that I don't know, I don't claim this, I don't know if this is going to happen. That's stuff that I don't even know about. So I can't sit here and say this, and that's pretty much it. And that pretty much is it. And you still want to sit here and for people that have a problem with me, or whatever the case it is, God will curse you. Woe be unto you, because you are in denial of the truth. That you're just mad that basically I'm an unfiltered person. I live my life the best way I can, and I still do whatever. But when it comes down to it, I don't compromise none of this stuff. I don't compromise the truth. Never been that person. You're just mad that basically God talks to me a certain way, I walk with God a certain way, and that I'm not some high fancy pastor, or whatever the case it is. And woe be unto you, the individual or group of people that still sit here and think that basically I have to sit here and that want to Christianize me, and basically colonize on my life, and basically are possessed by the spirit of religion. God will curse you. God has done that to multiple people. God will plague you in your personal life, and these things will happen. And I can't sit here and say this, that basically and I'm not going to even say what I said in one of my visions, that basically when I was approached by false prophets in my dream, that basically when I had a black tiger, I had every right to sit here and say that, your churches will burn and you will die. And even though I've been right about everything in your personal life and everything that God has told me, you still want to sit here and scrutinize me and persecute me because I can't memorize a Bible verse. Woe be unto you. So there you go. And I'll sit there and make another video about this person that I don't affiliate with, that people keep affiliating me with, but I don't affiliate with that person. So, yeah, and that's it. And I hope you guys have a blessed day and you guys got something from this. And I think, hold on, I gotta end this.